Welcome to this SAS certification webinar wherein we would like to tell you more about how would you prepare for global certifications of SAS. Today in this series, we are going to talk about base SAS programming certification and how would you prepare for it. My name is Shubhada. You can call me Shubh. I will be with you for this particular session. I'm a part of SAS APAC education team and I'm based here in Singapore. A little bit about myself. I work as a technical training consultant here at SAS. So my main domain is data management, advanced programming, of course, and analytics platform that SAS offers. So I do a couple of products from that as well. Now let me just also show you the agenda for this particular webinar that we are going to conduct. Let's discuss about SAS certification exam. So about the exam, what kind of exam environment you expect, and what all things that you have to take care, recommended courses, and we'll also review some of the topics that are basically covered under this particular certification exam. Some additional information, resources I'll be sharing as well. All right, so first and foremost thing, when it comes to programming, programming is like the foundation. Programming becomes a prerequisite if you basically want to go ahead and learn more products or more different types of tools, and overall SAS as a platform. Programming is basically a foundation. So when it comes to programming, there are two credentials that are available for you. Now the first one is called as Programming Associate and second one is called as Programming Specialist. So Programming Associate is basically for those of you who are really very new to SAS coding as such, less than 3 months, so just started. And this basically exam is all about MCQ. So what you expect in this exam is multiple choice questions and short answer questions. Maybe you just have to write 1 word or 2 words or maximum a sentence. So Programming Associate exam is that type of an exam. So the Programming Associate exam, MCQ, short answer, good for people who are very new to coding. And then we have got Programming Specialist. Now Programming Specialist is an exam, as the name suggests, it's specialist. So you are expected to have about, let's say 3 to 6 months of experience at least. This is basically an exam wherein, yes, you will have multiple choices. There will be short answer questions also. And there will be something like a case study, a bit size project kind of questions, coding based questions, wherein you will have to demonstrate your skills and you will have to write program. So this exam is going to test you on all these areas, basically coding based, multiple choice, as well as short answer questions. Now one more thing about this exam that you have to keep it in mind, that this becomes a prerequisite. So let's assume that you want to go ahead further and you want to learn more about SAS programming, or you are trying to venture out in other areas like clinical trials and so on. So this programming exam is going to be like a prerequisite. So it is always a good start. And if you clear that certification, then obviously you can go ahead and attempt further certifications also for SAS, right? So Programming Associate versus Programming Specialist. Let's talk more in detail about this first credential that you have got, which is called as SAS Certified Associate. Now, please note that this exam is called as SAS Certified Associate Programming Fundamentals using SAS 9.4. Now, every exam comes with, exam ID. There is a code. So for this one is A00215, right? So that is the exam ID. You also need to know that, I am registering for the right exam, isn't it? So that's why that ID is something that we should know. 60 to 65 questions, around 120 minutes, it's 2 hours time. And multiple choice questions, like I was telling you earlier, short answer questions as well. And 68% is the passing marks that you are expected to get as far as this exam is concerned. Now this exam is administered by SAS, it's a SAS certification, and Pearson VE is our administrator. They will help us to run this exam. Now this exam, depending on what is your logistics, You can either take it at a test center. Alternatively, it is also online, mode that you can opt for. So you can take these exams right from the comfort of your own home, and it also is quite smooth based on my personal experience, I'll say. So you have to decide like what is the mode that you have to go ahead and choose. The second exam is called as SAS Certified Specialist Exam. Now, SAS Certified Specialist Exam, please notice, is once again using SAS 9.4. SAS as a platform has got many versions, and there are a lot of other exams also. So please notice we have a large bouquet of exams, when it comes to SAS certification. We're just talking about these two over here. And Programming Specialist A00231, that is the ID. Now 135 minutes is going to be the duration, and 40 to 45 questions is what you are going to expect. Multiple choice questions, yes, expected. Programming questions, that means you're supposed to be coding there. So there will be, like I said, bit-size case studies or project kind of questions. So you have to code there and answer or get that expected output. You're also going to have access to documentation. And of course, SAS software in the sense you can use your preferred editor there, whichever is given to you, whatever is given to you available, you can use that. And then the access to the documentation is also going to be there. The passing marks over here is 725, so you are supposed to be getting these many marks if you want to pass this exam. And those questions that are asked to you, they are from the score points or score ranges, which is 200 to 1000, and different areas you will be tested on. So roughly about 20-25% questions will be on accessing data, another 30-40% managing data, error handling, reporting, and so on. And then all those marks, they will be combined, and then finally the weightage will be calculated. And obviously this is all done by SAS. Someone's asking, is there any negative marking? So no, there is no negative marking for this, right? So you earn marks for what you have done correctly. When it comes to exam environment, these are some of just the sample questions. These are obviously not the exact questions, but when it comes to specialist exam, which is your performance-based exam, some of the sample questions that you might get is like, you have to write a SAS program, like I was telling you earlier. So there will be some tables or something that will be given to you. You're supposed to be creating some temporary table. You have to read from the input table, do some filtering, and come up with new columns, do some calculations, and so on. Now, obviously, when it comes to exam questions, it is very much necessary that we know what that question is trying to ask us. We have to read it carefully. We need to know how to write the SAS program or edit the SAS program, and so on. And then, of course, follow the nitty-gritties, like what is the name of the file that you have to be giving. That will be mentioned in the question, and please follow the instructions nicely. Let's assume that this is what was asked to you, and you write a code to solve this particular problem, and then you will have to write down the answers. So after you write the program, how many rows are there in your output table? So you'll have to mention that. And what is the value of a particular value there for a particular column or a particular row? What is the value for the first star, and so on. Based on your output, you are supposed to be answering these questions, right? So this is your performance-based exam, and then programming question will look something like this. Now, when it comes to your choice of programming interface, I don't know which one you will be comfortable with. You can choose SAS Studio. You can also choose windowing environment, the legacy interface if you want, and SAS Enterprise Guide or SAS EG, right? So please note that these are the interfaces that are available to you. I will say that whatever is your comfort level, which one you know the best, go for it, and continue the same throughout the exam, right? So to maintain that consistency, SAS Studio, EG, or windowing environment. The choice will be up to you. You decide. Now there is this tutorial that will tell you what is expected, basically the exam environment that is going to be presented. Got some screenshots for your information. assuming that this is your specialist exam, performance-based exam. Your lab is loading, and then your project instructions will appear here, and then this is how your exam environment will start to look like. And you check resolutions, lab area is resizable, right? So I just the screen, whatever is available to you within those boundaries, you can go ahead and work with that lab environment. There will be buttons to guide you. Is there any help that you need as far as the environment is concerned? There is some troubleshooting available as well. And then of course, previous, next, the buttons. Now when you click on next, there will be something like practice session, we will say, or a preparation section. So just configure your labs, get yourself familiarized with the environment, so that's the point. And then once again, once you're done with this, there is next button that you're supposed to be choosing. Now, once again, please notice your keyboard shortcuts and all that. Some of them might not be working. So please notice this is an exam environment. So you need to know how to get the things done. Generally, if your keyboard is configured in a particular way and you expect that everything should work exactly like that during exam, it might not work, right? So I suggest be cautious about that, be aware of that part. And then of course, access to the documentation is provided. So this is your documentation.sas.com, the website that you can refer to. Honestly, my suggestion is that do not spend too much time on it, because you have time-bound exam and you need to do time management really very well. And this is the important point, the response of these documentation. It's a website ultimately, and it is going to be available to you within that environment, right? So the response sometimes can get slow. So I will suggest that you try to do everything as much as possible, but obviously do time management. And if you quickly want to refer to a particular syntax or particular statement or something, go ahead and do that, but just take care of the time. That's one thing for your info. And then of course, next is like the environment. And after that, obviously you will be starting your exam, right? And then like I said, you can do it online. Okay, so run statement, do we have limits? No, if you click run, the run will run. It's not that it will take too much time or something. No, that should not be a problem. People who are going to take exam online, let me tell you, there is this chat support is quite prompt, and there will be someone to help you out if you think that, oh, my screen is frozen, or something is going wrong. There will be people like the person, the proctor as we call it, as will be available. If you're taking it in a classroom setup or something, obviously you will have your invigilators to help you out as well, right? So don't worry about that part. And run statement, when you hit your run statement, the speed and all that, I don't really think that it's like going to be going in a hang or something, right? Generally should not be a problem. Okay, so one more question that I can see out here is, do you have SAS certifications that expire? Yes, some of the SAS certification exams, they come with an expiry date of 5 years, right? But it depends on certification to certification. So it's always a good idea to go ahead and look at that SAS certification website, that page. And for that particular exam, everything will be mentioned very clearly, right? But for these, I think should not be an issue. But there are some exams, there's a 5 years expiry date that they come with. Yeah, so depends on exam to exam, I will say. Do I have to run the program only once, or can I run it multiple times? Yeah, you can, as long as you want to run it, you go ahead and run it. If you're not happy with it, you change your answer, no problem. No problem. Of course, after you end the exam, you cannot do anything, but before you submit the exam, you have got ample chances to review, change your answers, no problem, right? So that's possible. This question people were asking, how do I study for that exam? First and foremost thing, I'm going to share with you some of the recommended courses. We're also going to go through a kind of review, and I will suggest that whichever is your SAS coordinators whom you are working with, they will be able to guide you also more on these topics. Let me just go through this particular part, recommended courses and review. The question, what kind of resources I should be using, right? You know that there are many prep resources available all over the internet. And then some of the resources, right? they might not be suitable or they might not be recommended resources, right? What I will suggest is that let me go through this, and then I think if you do this much, I think there should not be a problem in clearing your exam. Recommended courses, and then we'll go through some of the topics also. There are two recommended courses. One is Programming 1, second is Programming 2. And we have seen many participants going through this training, especially if I'm very new to SAS programming. So maybe I've done some programming before, Python or something I know, but SAS as such I have not learned before. For me, it is a good idea to go ahead and complete this particular training, which is based on Programming 1 Essentials as well as data manipulation techniques. Now, how will you obtain this training? Like I was telling you, it is best that you get in touch with your SAS coordinators. There must be some SAS teachers or someone that you know, because I don't really know what's your background. Are you like working? Are you student? Are you still in college or universities, right? So depends on that. But SAS Programming 1 Essentials and Programming 2 Data Manipulation Techniques is really a great type of resource. And if you are really going to study this very well, I think your exam will be much straightforward, right? So Programming 1 Essentials and Programming 2 Data Manipulation Techniques. Now, these are the recommended courses, and let me tell you that these courses basically are available. You can take them, you can visit your nearby, whichever is your SAS office, you can visit there and inquire about these courses. You can register online. You can take these courses as a classroom session. You can also take them as live web, or just like how we are having this Zoom. Similar to that, you can also complete this particular training. There are some other resources also, but I think we will provide a list of those resources to you later when we send you the thank you email. So SAS Programming 1 Essentials and Programming 2 Data Manipulation Techniques are courses wherein the concepts or the exam objectives that are covered by any of these exams, they are discussed in detail, and there are demos, there are practices, there are things like activities and case studies. So you get time to go through the exam objectives or the topics very thoroughly, right? So that is one thing to be noted when you talk about these courses. I would just like to take a slight detour, and I'm going to show you first of all these pages. Do not worry, all these links we will be sending you, and you can take a look at all these links at your leisure time. Whenever you've got some time, go through these links carefully. This is all about certification preparation, right? And then the exams that I was talking about, they are like your programming associate, I talked about this, and then base programming specialist exam. So if you look at these overall, this whole page, you can schedule your exams from here if you want, and you can prep for your exam as well. So roughly speaking, you will notice that there are tutorials available, because you all are asking what kind of resources I should be using. Just recommended courses, if you attend, that is like a very good thing. It gives you a proper time. But other than that, there are some other resources right there listed on this particular website. The exam and what kind of topics that this exam cover, this exam or any other exam of SAS for that matter, you just have to go to that particular proper certification page. There is something called as exam guide, and then this exam guide, let me just click on this. If you notice, this exam guide will give you this kind of a PDF wherein entire syllabus or the topics that you will be tested on are listed very much in detail. So when you are going to prepare, ensure that you do not leave even a single bulleted point unattended, because obviously you will be losing marks otherwise for that particular question. So you notice this is an exam guide. So when you are going to prepare for your exam, based on my experience, I will say that download this guide, keep it with you, study this, check what kind of objectives you're supposed to be completing. This is the certification page. Go take a look at exam guide, and of course there are some training resources for certification as well. So these are like, your official and verified and valid resources that you should be trying. Over here, the training courses and all that I was mentioning, they are also listed, right? So this page is like your going to be like your main link. And I'm showing you this for base programming specialists, but you of course have something similar for the associate level exam as well. And you can obviously go through whichever other exams that you're trying to take, right? Next will be what exactly is going to happen in these programming 1 essentials and programming 2 data manipulation techniques. Just now I was showing you the exam guide, and I was telling you that these are the topics that are covered for your specialist exam. Even if it is specialist exam, even if it is associate exam, right? Whichever exam, there are certain topics that you are expected to know. If you want to clear the exam, it is needed that you know these things. So based on that, there is this SAS Programming 1 Essentials, Programming 2 Data Manipulation Techniques, which is another training course. And believe me, these two are our quite popular programming courses, let me tell you. And there are so many students that we have worked with. In fact, working professionals, they also like, this is like a kind of stepping stone, I will say, when you start your SAS journey. So you have to be familiar with the concepts and the syntax. And then these two courses, like I was telling you, a lot of demos are there, activities, practices. And if you attend, let's say, for example, you attend a classroom session, then all these things will be done in the classroom itself with your trainer. And then you get an opportunity to learn from the start, start from the start. So that is going to be the idea. And once you go through them, you study the topics that are discussed in these particular courses, definitely it will lead up to your global certification exam. So this is like your preparation route. Also, please note that for certification, there are some practice tests that are available. So let me just show you that, because since we're talking about this already, I would like to make it a bit more interactive. That's why I'm showing you directly the website links, which will be shared with you. So don't worry about that. You will notice that this is training exam preparation specific page. And if we are talking about, let's say, base programming specialist exam, right? This is like your 1 point of thing, wherein you can go ahead and choose. So what kind of training I want. These are the training courses. From my side, honestly, I feel that they are really valuable. So do check if you have got any plans to go for it. Sample questions. Now, every exam will have some sample questions that you can, of course, download. I think I have downloaded. I'm just showing you this directly. So these are the kind of sample questions. Please note, these are sample questions, but they will give you definitely some idea about the structure of your exam. Other than that, there is a free practice exam to test your preparedness, right? So there is a base programming performance-based exam. This is the free practical exam that you can go ahead and take. As many times you want to take. And I'll suggest keep on taking it unless and until you score 100% every single time in this particular exam, right? So that is quite a good indicator that you are well prepared for your certification. This free practice exam, so whichever is your certification exam that you are going to take, go ahead and check which exam that you would like to take, and then all the resources. So let's say next time, if you want to go for advanced programming, all these resources are here. And then I think someone was asking me book, you can also check. There's something called as certification prep guide, right? So you can also explore that if you want to, right? So you were asking questions about the resources. I think this particular page, the one that I gave it to you, answers many of your questions, right? So just go ahead and check that out. Fortunately, I think I could share the link with you all. So go ahead and check that out as well. So this is the prep route, gather all the resources, complete all your demos, activities, practices, go ahead and attempt that practice exam. Get perfect score every time. That means you are really prepared. And then go ahead and take your global certification exam. Right? So it is quite a proven track, I will say. Of course, we all have to study for it. We have to put efforts. But then after that, it is very much within your control. Let us just take a look at majority of the topics that will be covered as a part of this exam. Now, obviously, I'm not going to teach each and everything out here. And these topics, the ones that I'm just going to review, right, they are gathered from that exam content guide, which I was showing you earlier. All these topics are covered as a part of your programming specialist exam, right? So I'm focusing more on that exam. Why? Is because once you clear that exam, you can actually go ahead and do advanced programming or even the clinical trials and so on, right? Which is, that's why this exam gives you a solid foundation, I will say, for your further SAS learning. Going back to my slides once again, and let's try to go through some of the topics over here. So SAS Programming 1, if I talk about this course, I will say this is like the course called as essential course. That means you have to, understand some of the basics of programming and get started. And many of you said that you are not yet a SAS programmer. You are not so sure about what happens in SAS programming. So everything is like very new for you. So this is a good starting point, I will say. And it all starts with syntax, Programming means syntax, any programming language for that matter. Just like that, SAS programming also comes with its own grammar. Syntax is very important because when you're going to write the program, if you're not really sure about the syntax, you're going to get all those errors and you will not get the output that you expect. So in case of SAS, it is going to be consisting of something called as data step and proc. Proc is like all procedures. So data step will basically help you to create your own tables, or it will allow you to manipulate your data, read data and so on. On the other hand, your procedure steps, they are going to help you to do things like reporting. They are going to help you to do things like analysis based on your data. And it's going to help you to organize your data, manage your data and so on. Right? So there are data step and proc step when it comes to your SAS program. Now, those of you who have attended our SAS programming courses, probably for them it will be more like a recap because you have learned it. But many of you said that you are not really familiar. For them, it is a good overview, I will say. Some of you are experienced programmers. Obviously, probably you're doing this day in and day out in your in your work. So for you all also, this is just a good recap. And then what all topics you already know, what all topics you probably want to focus on more, right? So that's why I'm just running through this review. So understanding SAS syntax, that's important. We have to focus on that first of all. There are different types of programs, programming statements that you can write when it comes to SAS syntax. Something called as global statements. So basically, generally when you want to do settings or something for that will run throughout the program, then you have got something called as global statements. Say for example, you're creating a report and you want to put some title for that report or heading for that report. Then there are global statements like title example, which is one of the SAS global statements. There is a syntax, that means whatever code that you are going to write, it ends with a semicolon, right? So that is how you logically end a particular statement. Spacing, all that is okay. Lowercase, uppercase, mixed case, don't bother much unless they are quoted values. So let's say if you are saying that I want to see the records from let's say a continent equal to Asia, example. Then in that particular case, obviously that Asia will be a quoted value. And for that, you will have to decide whether it's going to be Asia in uppercase or lowercase or whatever it is, right? So certain care that you have to take over here. Make your program readable. Even when you're writing exam code in your exam, just ensure that it looks like readable to yourself because sometimes what happens, we just type and then we don't really understand where we started, what are we writing, right? So it's always a good idea that you indent nicely and make it like readable program. You have got format code option, right click format code is also there. So just format your code and ensure that you yourself understand what you have written. Even during exam, take care of that. Comments and all that in real life, of course, when you are doing kind of documentation for your program, you will have comments so that you as well as your team members know what that particular program is supposed to be doing, what this particular statement is supposed to be doing. And then, of course, understanding SAS syntax. That's where you will have to start off first of all. And then let's talk about data, because obviously if we do not have data, what are we even going to do, isn't it? So it all starts with data. So SAS has got its own data set or own table. So just like how you got, like, for example, Excel, or we have got different types of databases. So they all have their tables and so on. Just like that, SAS has got its own data set. Now, in case of SAS data set, you have got, of course, data. And then there is something called as metadata, or called as a descriptor portion, right? So we have to understand the structure of our tables or SAS data sets very, very carefully. Now, let me tell you, during exam, so of course, these are all the topics that you will learn. You will have to use it also back in your office or whenever you start working. Of course, you'll have to use it. But even for your exam, these are some of the concepts, and understanding these concepts is very, very important, because some of these concepts will be tested. So even if it is an MCQ question, for example, we should know that, in case of SAS table, there is a data portion and then there is a descriptor portion, which is like a metadata portion. So we have to quickly be able to relate it. And there are some questions, even MCQ, those questions will ask you that, okay, this is the code, predict the output. Now, how will I know whether the output is right or wrong? Only when I know my syntaxes very well, only when I know that this is how internally how SAS behaves or how it functions, right? So that's why some of these basics are like, we have to be very, very clear, especially when you're going to take your exam. By the way, in case of SAS, you got either character data or numeric data. Of course, column names and all, they will have their own syntax, and they have to have a particular number of characters and so on. Character or numeric data. So even dates, when I talk about the dates, please notice dates are internally numbers. So yes, I'm going to format them and make them look like these are the dates, but internally, please notice dates are numbers when it comes to SAS, right? So character columns means we know letters, alphanumeric, numbers, special characters. That's all character can be. Numeric column can be date. Date is internally a number, like we said. Dates are numbers are also your 0 to 9, positive, negative numbers, exponential or scientific numbers, decimal points. So that's like quite relatable for anyone and everyone to understand. And then I was telling you that in case of SAS, there are variety of procedures that you can run. Now, this is a procedure called as proc contents. Proc contents procedure is going to reveal the metadata or the structure of your SAS table, and it's going to tell you whether a particular column is a character column, numeric column, how much is the length of that column, and so on. Right? So some of the procedures that you will have to write. So these are your sample code is going to look like. So if I'm very new to SAS table, I don't know, I'm newly joined, example, a company, and they want me to understand my employee data, then I will run these kind of procedures, right? So proc contents is one of the procedure there. In case of SAS, this concept of libraries is again extremely important. In fact, when you are going to take your certification exam, the setup part, because you are expected to explore where are those those tables, or because you are going to create your program based on those tables that your exam is going to give you. So how do I access those tables? Where are they? There is something called as library reference that I will have to set. So at the start of your exam itself, you have to ensure that this library reference is set clearly. Roughly speaking, this library reference is nothing but like a pointer. So let's assume that my data is in some C drive or D drive or wherever, and I want to access it. I want to access it without having the hassle of hard-coded paths. Like I don't want to every time say C drive, programming one, blah, 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 blah. I don't have to write such a long path. I want to quickly access that particular, folder or wherever is my file. I would set something called as a library. And this library reference is going to point to that path, C drive, D drive, wherever it is. And then this library reference, later on, I will be able to use it in my code whenever I want to access a particular data. Library reference, like I was mentioning it right now, generally you will say that I'm looking for a particular file. Let's just say it is in C drive, something, and this is my some file, table.sas or something. All right. So instead of writing something like this, right, or whatever is the extension of the file, whatever it is that I want to write down, instead of this physical path, I will say something which will say like library one dot table name, tab one or something. So notice that. So this library reference is actually pointing to that C drive and wherever is my folder or wherever is my SAS table rather, right? So this library name or library reference, this is important. Even for exam, you have to know how do you set the library references. So libraries, you have to have quite a lot of understanding when it comes to libraries. SAS gives you some default libraries, automatic ones. One of them is like work library. So if you don't have any library or don't want to specify any library, the contents will be stored, the tables will be stored in this work library, which is kind of temp. It will be deleted at the end of your SAS session. But that's automatic because I don't do anything for that. I don't create a library, right? So these libraries are all going to be created by SAS for me. SAS help is another library that you can go ahead and access. So the environment, exam environment, like I was mentioning, you can go ahead and make use of SAS Enterprise Guide or SAS Studio or windowing environment. I don't know which editor you are comfortable with, but whichever one, the coding part obviously is going to remain the same. Library to read Excel files, because it's not that I'm forever going to work only with SAS tables. I have got multiple data sources. I have got data coming from different databases. I have got data coming from Excel. So there is this library that will help me to, in fact, point to my Excel files as well, right? So how do I read Excel files? So there is one method, which is your library name or libname, which is called as a statement, by the way. So libname is one method. Secondly, I also have a choice of working with something called as importing data, especially when my data is in some different formats and I'm not able to directly access them. In that event, I would be able to make use of something called as proc import. So this is again a procedure, is something called as proc import. That will help me out to work with my CSV files and come up with output table, which is going to be a SAS table. So what I'm going to do is, whatever are my data sources, I'm going to convert them into SAS table format, and then I will use it for further analysis and so on. Now, please note, this is programming, and one program can be written in multiple different ways. So I can go with libname statements, I can go with proc import, so there are several such ways of working on things. We were talking about importing files and proc import, just now I was mentioning that. And then reporting, when it comes to exploring your data or when it comes to reporting your data, there is something called as proc print. As the name suggests, print, right, is going to display your columns and rows, your data, basically directly is going to publish it, is going to create that report for you. And then, so the basic procedure that you're going to use is proc print. You are going to say that from which table I want to print rows and columns, and then you can start playing with it. So I want only 10 rows, or I want only 5 columns. So there are options. So every procedure, if you notice, that starts with proc print, ends with run. So this is like a combo. It's like a start and an end, and you have to start the proc with proc keyword, ending it with run. Some of the procedures, they end with quit as a keyword, right? So it depends, but we'll say run, right? And then all these are extra options. So every procedure will have its own options, and you need to note them somewhere down the line, right? And then proc print is there. There are certain other procedures like proc means, another popular procedure that will generate, a summary statistics. So if suppose I want to do a quick analysis, I want to find out what is like the average, or how many counts and all that. I want to quickly understand that. Then I'll go for proc means. If you want to do a bit more deep dive, there's something called as proc univariate as well. And then frequency analysis, if you want to do, we have got our other procedure there called as proc frequency also, right? So there are different types of procedures that are available. Univariate, proc frequency, a lot of them. It's up to you, obviously, which one you want to use. Back in your office, you have to decide based on your requirement. For exam purpose though, you need to have understanding of these procedures, right? It's like common. Now, just like any other programming languages, filter, sorting, filtering, these are common things. And even for base SAS programming, filtering rows, obviously it is expected that you know how do I filter my data, because it's not that always you are going to look at the whole set of your rows and columns. So you will have to filter it. Now for filtering purposes, please notice there is a statement called as where, and then this where statement we will be using in multiple different ways. It's a very we'll say it's a very multi-purpose statement. It is a very useful statement, and you can go ahead, make use of it for your character columns or your numeric columns, or you want to filter for dates also. Why not? So this where statement comes in various flavors, I will say. You can have and or, so you can combine like multiple conditions. So you're searching for continent equal to Asia, and or give me all those products where the profit is, let's say, more than 100, so there's that and. Quite logical, quite common. If you have done any other programming language previously in your schools, or even in your job somewhere you have worked on it, it's very, very relatable, and you will be able to easily pick base SAS programming as well. Now, when it comes to your where operator, there are, like I was saying, various flavors are available for comparison purposes, equal to and so on. Look at these mnemonic characters. So either I can say equal to, or I can say EQ. Now equal to, obviously we are more familiarized with that, but SAS does support mnemonic expressions as well. Some special category of where operators are available for you here as well. And this is going to be like where something is missing, not missing, null, not null, between. And then if you want to let's just say make use of wildcards. Wildcards in the sense I'm not too sure exactly what I'm searching for. Then in that event, I will make use of like operator, and I can go ahead and make use of whichever wildcards that I want. So basically a lot of options, and it's quite straightforward honestly to understand. There is something called as macro. You need to have some basic understanding of macro, because macro facility, please take a note that this macro comes as a separate topic in your advanced programming, and it's very, very useful. So people who are experienced programmers here, probably they have used macro to generalize their programs, right, and make their programs, I'm sure they must have made them dynamic using macros. But for the exam that we are talking about, basic understanding of macro variables, how they help you to automate, how they help you to make your program dynamic is quite enough. And there are certain statements that you need to know. One of them is percentage let statement, wherein you need to know how to declare a macro variable. You should also know how to use it. There are certain specific characters that you need to know over here, and one of them is like a percentage character that you should be knowing. You should be keeping in mind. There is ampersand also that you should know. Now macro, like I said, when you go for the advanced programming, it's a different topic. It's a wonderful topic. Lot of things that you can achieve using macros in real life SAS programming as well. Formatting columns, because obviously I do not want to display values as is for our users. We would like to nicely format them, and we would like to show them in terms of proper reports. And let us just go ahead and make use of different types of formats. And you have got a variety of formats available in SAS. And so if I want to format my dates, and I want to show them as DDMMYY, or I want to show them as YY, I mean the year first, whichever way, there are several SAS standard formats that are available. Currency formats are also there, like dollar and euro and so on. Can I create my own format? Yes, why not? That also is something that you should be knowing. How do I create my own custom format? Right? So formatting columns is another topic that you will have to watch out for. One more topic will be sorting, filtering, formatting, common things. Every programmer must know them. And sorting data, we have got a separate procedure when it comes to SAS. It's called as proc sort. And this particular procedure will help you to sort your input table then and there on that itself, or alternatively, you can create an output table also. So you get that input table, sort it out, and come up with an output table. You also have got order of sorting, ascending, descending, the way you want. And again, your proc sort comes with several options that will help you to decide whether do you want to remove duplicates? Do you want to remove duplicates and create another table for duplicate values? So do you want all these options? So there are several options that your proc sort also comes up with. Now, the review that we are doing right now, probably those of you who are very new to SAS programming, for them, just try to go through, just try to understand how things work or what all things will be tested on. And like I said, people who have attended SAS courses, it's a good recap for them. So remember and see what you have learned, and are you able to recollect all those things. People who are experienced programmers, I'm sure it probably are the things that they have done many times. But just watch and check if any recap, or is there a particular topic that you need some revision before you take your certification exam, right? So that is exactly where we are going through this particular demo. So I want to read the data, and I want to filter what kind of rows and columns that I want. So filtering rows, I was saying that let's go ahead and make use of where statement. And if suppose I want to filter the columns, rows is where statement, but I want to filter the columns. That means I want to subset columns. My table has got 10 columns. I want to have only 5 columns in the final result. Then I have choices. There are statements called as drop and keep that I can go ahead and use, right? So drop and keep statement is again something that you should know. I was talking a lot about proc before. So you notice I was talking about proc import, proc sort, proc print. Now I'm also talking about a data step. Now data step, what it does is, and its data step especially becomes very important in your second course. So right now we are talking about our first course, which is called as SAS Programming 1 Essentials. Now in that particular course, of course, things are like starting from the start, so it's more like foundational. So we are going to talk about a data step. And data step, if you notice, it is going to read from input table. So that's your set statement. And then it is going to come up with the output table. So this whole thing, whatever we have written over here, this data set and this whole thing is called as a data step, right? And then this data step is very powerful when, and you need a deeper understanding of what exactly happens So if you write this data step and if you run the program, what happens behind the scene? It is expected that you know that mechanism, know that behavior also very, very well. Computing new columns, yes, because whatever is given in my input table is not enough. I will have to do my own calculations. My input table gives me sales price, it gives me cost, but it never gave me how much profit. So I have to create that profit myself. And that's exactly where you will calculate new columns, right? So that will be your profit equal to sales minus cost, or whatever is the calculation that you'll have to go ahead and do. So computing new columns as a part of data step is also going to be quite an important thing for everyone to note and remember. Functions, so many functions. SAS has got very, very huge library of functions. For the purpose of this exam, there are certain functions that we have to know. And function, whenever we talk about any function, function has got its own name, comes with those parentheses or round brackets, and then functions will have arguments. And we have got, again, so many different category of functions, numeric functions, summary statistics functions right in front of you on the slide, wherein you are trying to take totals or you're trying to calculate averages and median values or minimum and maximum and so on. There are so many of them. Now these functions, they will help you to quickly calculate some kind of a summary, and then they don't bother about the missing values in your data. So if your data, you suspect that your data has got some junk values or something, those values will be ignored thanks to your summary statistics function. Right? So please note that. You got a lot of character functions also, uppercase, lowercase, substring function that will help you to extract a part of a string from the main string, or concatenation functions like cates. You got 2-3 varieties when it comes to concatenation functions. So I got first name and I got last name. I want to make it a full name. Then I will go for these concatenation functions. So I got cat, cates, catex, quite a few varieties there, and you need to know them. You need to study them for the exam. And by the way, whatever I am going through right now is a part of those training courses that I was mentioning that will prep you for your certification as well, right? So we are reviewing the contents of the course also when we are looking at this review. Please note. Date functions. We have got so many different types of date functions because date is an important type of a data in any kind of a table. And I want to extract a month from the date. I want to know which quarter a particular transaction happened. So there are several date functions also we need to know. Today function is there, year difference or YRDI function is there, right? So a lot of functions. And then of course, so we were talking about SAS syntax, we were talking about data step and procedure step. We were talking about where, statement. We also talked about the way different types of comparisons will work, sorting, filtering. We were talking about all that. And then of course now another very, very usual thing that happens in any program is conditional programming. So, or conditional processing. If else. So if a particular country equal to something, then the tax will be something. Otherwise, the tax will be something else. So if you have that kind of a scenario to code, then it is going to be your if, then, else if, then, else if, then, else. So this is the proper structure or syntax that you have to remember as well, right? So conditional processing. In our Programming 1 Essentials, we also cover another topic which is again important for your exam also, which is report creation. Because whatever data and all that you are going to work on, ultimately you are going to share it with your users. You will have to basically create reports, and you will have to enhance these reports. You have to make them look better. And that's exactly where titles and footnotes and labels come in picture. So these are all statements that you need to learn also: title, footnote, label, and so on. right? And then you can create grouped reports. So do the proc sort, and after that, you can go ahead and make use of that by statement. And then you can say that, okay, display this particular report by countries or by departments and so on, right? So that's by statement as well. Proc frequency. We were talking about proc print and we were talking about proc contents and so on. Proc frequency is again a procedure that will quickly help you to do the counts or the frequency table. And whatever is your data, if I want to quickly find out that I got these categories of products and how much or how many of the items that I have sold, I want to see those counts, then proc frequency will be a great idea. Kindly note that every procedure, proc something, run or quit, mostly we will say run, and then decide what kind of a table it is going to work on. And then obviously you are going to have all those different types of options, that will go with your proc frequency, right? So please note that particular part. Now you have got your proc frequency procedure that you need to know as well. And of course, the options, popular options, common options that come with it. Proc means is another procedure which is called as a summary statistics procedure. You need to know that procedure also very well. Proc means will help you to quickly generate averages. So how much is the average for a particular profit or whichever are the numeric columns in your data, right? So it also comes with certain other things, like you can create an output table to store your summary analysis, summary statistics calculated by proc means, right? So depending on the procedure, you will have lot of such syntaxes that you will have to remember. You also have got something called as exporting data. Proc import, we were talking about it. So if proc import is there, proc export is also there. So back in your workplace or after this certification exam, when you start working, we can't expect that everyone knows SAS, everyone has got access to SAS. So we would like to share data with them. So I have created SAS table using my programming, but I want to share it with others. Then I can just go ahead and make use of proc export, and then proc export will help me to create different types of output files, right? And then Excel or anything for that matter. So outside SAS, whatever are the file formats, go ahead and work with proc export. When it comes to exporting your reports, this was, by the way, exporting data. So I've created a SAS table. I want to create an Excel out of it. I will say proc export. Now, when it comes to something called as exporting reports, so I am generating a particular report. The report has got this title. The report has got specific labels. I've done group by also in the report and so on. But that report, I do not want to show in SAS format. I want to create a PDF out of it, or I want to create a PowerPoint out of it, or Word or document kind of a file out of it. I have got something called as ODS, which is called as output delivery system. So this is basically a system which is responsible for rendering the output in whichever format that you want, right? So exporting reports is again something that, we will have to know. Exporting results to Excel or whether it is PDF, it is all about your ODS statements. So you need to know them as well. Your programming 1 consists of all these topics. And if you're just wondering, is there a quick reference? This is a beautiful ready reckoner. And just before your certification exam, right, I suggest you should go through it. It will give you a very quick prep, before you attend your exam, right? So it gives you confidence that, oh, I know, these are the exam topics and I have learned them, I know them, right? So this is a great reference, and you should keep it with you, should refer to it whenever need be. I will just show you, this is how the course notes will look like. And this gives you a very nice preparation also. So obviously, whatever I was talking about right now, I was talking about SAS syntax and everything. So this is like, around 300 pages as such. In this case, I can see. So this is like our course notes. And then there's a lot of coding, nice practices and demos. And obviously, when you're going to go through all these things, obviously you will be prepared for your certification, isn't it? So that's the point, So that's why it is necessary. Obviously, we have to study, and then only we will clear the exam. As simple as that. All right, let me just talk about programming 2 now. Obviously, we have got very less time. I'm not like really training right now, but do note that we do conduct classroom sessions, we do conduct online sessions like what we are conducting right now for all these topics. So right now, of course, we are going through it like very fast, but if you really like join the classroom session or the online session, we will like really go one by one. We will type the programs together, we will do activities, and believe me, things will be much clearer. Programming 2 is another course that will build based on what you have done in Programming 1 course. And this focuses a lot on your data step. And like I was telling you, in the first course, we need to know the admin kind of thing. That means I know that, I want to use this procedure. I have to write the procedure this way. I know that these are the functions. But in this particular course, we do deep dive. We understand what exactly happens behind the scene. So agree that I write a data program, data step I write, and I know that I want to create a new table based on some existing table. But after I type the program and after that I hit run button, what happens? So behind the scene, your SAS program, your data step goes through compilation and execution process. So how it will read from a particular table, how it will come up with a new table. There is a logic, and compilation and execution happens behind the scene. During compilation, what happens? During execution, what happens? All those nitty-gritties we will have to know when it comes to your data step processing. Now, point to be noted, this is an important concept here called as PDV or Program Data Vector. So when your SAS program is getting compiled and executed, please notice behind the scene, there is something called as memory area, PDV, that is initiated, that's created, and the processing happens through this PDV, right? So PDV, if you attend any SAS interview also, you will notice that questions will be there on PDV. So what's like PDV and how does it work, or what does it do for me? This is an important concept here. What happens behind the scene? We must know that. And there are statements like output statements. Now this output statement, what you see here, now this output statement basically helps you to send output to another table. So I'm going to read from one table, and then I want to decide when the output will be sent to output table or another table, right? So there is something called as explicit output statement. So when I say explicit output, means I'm going to write. As a programmer, I will decide that when the output should be happening. But just like explicit, there is implicit output also, which data step will do on its own, right? So should I go with implicit? Should I go with explicit? What will be the scenarios when I will make use of explicit? All that discussion is important, and it will be happening over there. There are certain very real life requirements. For example, I want to create, let's just say, a running total. I want to create a running total. So I want to, what is running total, right? Like 1 and then something like this. So you have got, let's just say, some number 1, and then next here you have got 2, and then you have got one more, something called as, let's say, 3. And then I want to do a running total. So this is like 1. Then the next row will be 1 plus 2, 3. Then the 3 plus 3, 6, right? So this is called as a running total. So how will I do this accumulation or a running total kind of a column, right? So that's also a discussion in Programming 2. There we will be learning something called as a retain statement, something called as sum statement, and so on. And it's pretty straightforward. How do I get that running total created? Right? So there is some discussion on that as well. There is group-wise processing that you can do. So in fact, I can see that, let's say talk about weather, for example. So I want to find out in a month how much rain has happened. And assuming I'm a weather station and I'm recording like every daily rain, how much is the rain that happened every day. And then I have a data for the whole year, and now I want to group it by months. The January this much, February this much, which is a very common and relatable thing to do. So processing data in terms of groups. And how does that happen? Internally, what should I take into consideration? So if I'm using a by statement, then internally that by statement will help me to do grouping. There's something called as first and last, some kind of variables, system variables that get generated behind the scene, and I can toggle them, I can tweak them, and I can do data processing in terms of groups. That's also discussed over here in your programming 2 course. SAS functions and something called as call routines. We will do a deep dive here also. There are some different types of SAS functions: random function, largest function, round function, and then a variety of character functions, which will help me to do things like removing unwanted characters, or from a particular string, I want to extract first word or second word or the last word. So how do I do that? I want to get rid of unwanted, probably spaces, leading and trailing blanks, etc. There are several functions that we will have to know here. Strip function is there, compress function is there, scan function is there. And this scan function will help me to remove, the word, first word or the second word from a particular column. Sometimes this becomes necessary. So let's assume that you have, let's just say, address of a person. And I know that the last word is, let's just say, a city. And I want to create a new column that will just have cities of my customers. Then in that particular case, I will go ahead and make use of scan function, right? So these are character functions, deep dive. I was mentioning earlier that concatenation function, cat, catis, catx, we will have to know their varieties also, because each of them do something different. And I need to know what do they do. Some of the special functions, they're also called as type conversion functions, wherein I have got character data I want to convert into numeric, or numeric data convert into characters, because sometimes in your tables, the numbers are also stored as characters, but I want to treat numbers as numbers so that I can do some calculations and all in future. So I will be making use of functions like input or put, right? So input function, character to numeric, and put is numeric to character, right? So these type conversion functions also we need to know. Custom formats. I was talking about formats earlier, and I was saying that SAS provides so many of the standard formats, like dollar format is there, or date related formats are there. But what if they are not sufficient for me? I have got a specific requirement and I'm not able to see any SAS standard format that will fulfill that requirement. Then in that particular case, I would like to go for something called as custom format, and proc format is a new procedure that you will be introduced to here. So proc format means my own format, custom format. And I can just create this format once and for all. And not only me, our team members can also use it, right? So this is like your own formatting. You can format your data the way you want, right? And then, so for example, you got a list of all countries or regions or something. But what I have is like a region code, right? So say, for example, country as, let's say, Thailand. So I just have TH. Or let's say country as India, I just got IN. Or AUS for Australia, or AG, or ML, So it is just a country code. But what I want to display properly is a full name. So I want to display it as Thailand, or Australia, or Singapore, or India properly. Then in that case, my custom formats will be quite a good idea. So wherever it is TH, it becomes Thailand, and so on. So custom formats will help you to do these things. Very, very relatable and real life scenarios are discussed here for better understanding of everyone. And then after that, we will start to talk about something like concatenating tables. Now, some of you, those of you who are from some kind of a database background, if you have learned things like SQL or Oracle or something, over there you've got joins, right? Inner join, outer join. Some of you definitely must be familiar with that. Now, how do you have it over here. And we are not talking, because SAS is SAS, it's not SQL or it's not Oracle. So in case of SAS also, your data step programming is very powerful. It will help you to do things like concatenating tables. So I can append the tables and I can also merge them. Merge is like like I was mentioning, is like joins. So this is more like append. So those of you who have, again, referring to your SQL, Oracle and all, you have learned union operator and all those things, set operator, so union operator, and joins. We do have data step alternatives for the same, and you can use either of them. Please notice, by the way, when we are working using base SAS programming, base SAS programming also supports something called as proc SQL. So it's like your interpretation of your SQL in terms of SAS, right? So that's also supported. But you do have data step things, and then there is something called a set statement or merge statement that will help me to concatenate and merge the tables, right? And then you have got this in option. It's called as in data set option. Using that, I can simulate results that look like inner join or left join or right join and so on, right? So just for your information, note that that is also discussed in programming 2 level of this particular course. Iterative do loops, in fact, is again like a backbone of any programming languages. You do have loops in SAS also, and do while is there, do until is there, only do loop is there. So quite a nice set of varieties, and you will be learning loops also. And of course, during your exam, you should know that, oh, the loop, how does it work? Or is this given code is going to generate some kind of infinite loop or something? So we have to note that nicely and then answer the questions. Restructuring data using data step and using something called as proc transpose, which is also a part of your programming 2 course. So I have a table, but I want to change its structure. No problem, you can restructure it. There are ways to do it, right? So this is what is basically going to happen in your programming 1 and 2. So I wanted to go through these review topics. I have given you a reference also, and always go through that. And then some of the MCQ questions, for example, will look something like this. So running a SAS program can create what? A, B, C, or D. And then you have to mark this answer in the exam. So people are answering the question here already. I mean, I'm not showing you the answers, but yes, what you're saying is correct. So your SAS program can actually do all of the above, like some of you mentioned in the chat. I want to tell you that during exams, sometimes it may so happen that when the exam starts, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I sometimes can get confused, or you get like kind of that blank out and all. Take your time. You can always mark the question for review. Or maybe when I'm doing it, first time I just mentioned as C. But then I realized that no, something is wrong. Never mind. When you review again, you can always change the answer, right? So that's not an issue at all. So it's okay to change answers. Feel free. As long as you're not like finally submitted it, you can definitely change it. Okay, this is just another question. There is, I mean, we don't really have the program for it, but something like this that will be asked to you. So in that event, look at your question, ensure that you understood the code, try to play it in your mind, and then go ahead and try this. So when you are having MCQ, right, to the best of my knowledge, you will not be able to access your SAS Studio. So you can't type. So when the MCQ thing is going on, you can't go and type and check. Yeah, so MCQ, you take it as MCQ, answer it. And after that, your project-based questions will start, right? So again, an MCQ, what will be the result of running this code? This. Think about it. Sometimes the answers look very, very similar. So ensure that you know what is the question is all about. Programming project questions, like I told you, they will give you some files. You can open those SAS programs and all, and make some changes if need be, or submit them, fix some syntax errors and all that, and then answer these questions. For example, how many rows are there? What is something else? And so on. So these things you will have to go ahead and work on. Then another program. You can also use another program as such from the whichever folder, and then complete the instructions whatever are given to you, right? So these are some of the project based kind of questions. Certification website. See, all these are resources. I've shown you quite a lot of the files simultaneously, but just consolidating that over here as well. So you should create your profile, obviously, because before taking your certification exam, go ahead, create a profile. And I'm sure our SAS team members, they will guide you in this. Whenever you take your course also, in fact, there is a digital badge that you will be will be able to opt for. And you will notice that once you complete a particular course, say for example you join for SAS Programming 1 as a training, or you complete this certified certification for base programming and so on, then you will be getting all these badges. So ensure that you opt for these badges, you acquire them, because they are very good to flaunt on your LinkedIns. You can also send it to your HR. You can include them as a part of your your CV and so on. So this is a good one, right? It's like a digital, it's like your credential, it's like your skill set. So don't forget to get those badges as well, right? And then, yes, of course, after your exam is done, the result will be immediately flashed, and that will be it's like your heart will beat very fast. So after you submit and after you see, before you see the result, that period in between, it is always going to be like, wow, thrilling. And then, yes, the exam score, the certificate or the scorecard that will be displayed will be something like this. Your section analysis and all. Obviously, we will never know which question we did it correctly or what went wrong and all, but it's an indicator how much percentage you scored in each section and so on, right? And so grade will be shown to you also. And I'm already wishing all of you that you should see whatever is mentioned here, that grade should be all passed. And after that, of course, you will be receiving email also to whichever is your email and all that you have submitted, right? So over there, you will be getting an email saying that this is your credential and information about your certification, your logo and so on. Give some time, because Pearson they got their own database, and the exam should be all done properly, everything. But you already know whether you are pass or fail, right? And then wait for the official email also. And unfortunately, if something goes wrong, and if you want to take the exam one more time, then wait for 14 days, calendar days between attempts, right? So between two attempts, leave this gap, and then a candidate can retake exam up to 5 times in 12-month period, right? And exams that do not comply will be considered invalid. Yeah, so obviously exam, they will have their own policy and all that. So as long as you're going through a proper channel, should not be a problem. So the exam fees and all that, every exam comes with some fee, and you will have to check that based on exam to exam. Now, before you start your exam, right, I shared with you that page. Go through your training courses, go through your prep materials, go through all those demos and practices and everything. Look at that practice test that is given for every exam, and try to answer it multiple times. Score 100% in those practical exams. Ensure that exam directions and all you are reading carefully, so you know what is the question and so on. When it comes to exam, please be there on time. Whether you're taking online, also you have to log in, you have to report a bit earlier. And if you're going to a test center and taking it also, of course, please go at your scheduled time, before that in fact. And time management is very important. Don't linger on a particular question too long. You can always skip it and come back to it later. And listen to the instructions or read the instructions very, very carefully. Question, of course, you have to read, understand, then attempt the question. And roughly some kind of time management should be there. There will be a clock that will anyways tell you how much time is remaining and so on. Formulate your answer, check, double confirm what's happening and then answer. And then rule of elimination, especially in MCQ, this works very nicely. So you think that, oh, A and D is definitely out of question, so leave it. Then you play with between B and C and then you answer, right? So rule of elimination, please apply also over here. Like I said, skip questions if you do not know a particular thing, come back and attempt them later. Change answers is okay, no problem. Because it's possible that sometimes you just, in the spur of a moment, we say A, but then we know that it's not A, it's B. Change it, no problem. Return to difficult questions, whatever you skipped, please go back. But you have to have time so that you can go back and attempt them, right? And then one round of your questions should be done so that you can have some time to go through it again, right? And it's okay if you really think that, oh, this particular question I cannot really answer. It's okay. Let it not affect your remaining questions, right? So common things. These are some of the things that we'll have to remember for any exam anyways, right? So even for SAS certification exams, these are the questions that are like, you should know. Digital badges. Obviously, badge means it's you are certified. You have that skill set with you and share across social media and all. You become a part of SAS directory also once you clear the certification. Of course, for future career prospects and anytime, this is going to be a good news, whenever you work with your SAS certifications. Know that very well. Digital badge, I was showing you this Cradly website just now. So create an account and then we have given you the link. So go ahead and claim your badge and flaunt it. Tell people that you are certified. Tell people that you have SAS skill set. Okay, talking about exam integrity, please notice you have to earn the certifications fairly, very, very important. Otherwise, it's not considered as a valid certification. Whenever you're taking exam and all that, obviously the environment itself will ensure that we are going to follow the rules and guidelines. Please use SAS authorized study materials only, right? And all these so-called dumps and all that, no, they won't help you. You have to use the SAS authorized study materials if you want to clear the SAS SAS certifications, right? So we have got study materials and all that. Feel free to use them. SAS.com certification, that's your website. And of course, exam preparation page, all those resources that I showed to you. Email are available for you to just shoot an email. And there are pages that will tell you more about exam and what kind of a preparation you should do and so on. So everything is given to you online. You just have to go ahead and read up. I have already answered quite a few questions. If you have got some last minute questions, go ahead and type them in the chat window. And apeducation@sas.com. You can always send us email on this, because I'm sure that we have done this webinar today, but I'm sure you will have some questions after this also. So feel free. Do we have any certification attendees or completion? Okay, if you attend, I don't know, let me know if I'm understanding your question correctly, but if you attend courses and all that, right? So for every course also you will have some certificate, right? And then of course when you clear certification exam, it's a different certificate, like I was talking about it, right? So that's a different certificate. But if you, let's say, attend only the courses and if you complete the training like programming 1 or programming 2, there will be a separate certificate for that as well. You will have that certificate too. And for that also you will have a badge. Thank you so much everyone for asking this question. When you want to prepare for the exam, right, the practice test that will, just now I was showing you, right, the practice test on that certification page is the best resource. But obviously to understand the concepts and all that, please go ahead and you can either learn these courses that I was talking about. There is a prep guide also available, right? So that resource, the certification page for every single certification will have all these answers. It's nothing like previous question papers or something, right? It's like a whole set of question bank that our exam will have, and no one will know that unless we actually take the exam, right? But the practice questions or practice test is a very useful resource. Within 4 days, I appointed okay, so I'm not too sure. Someone is taking exam like literally in this week or maximum early next week. I went through certain things. Do you think you're confident enough to answer all those questions? Do you think that you have studied those topics well? Right? So 4 days you can clear, but it's like you have to burn midnight oil. You have to really prepare very well. Right? But realistically speaking, if you have like done your programming 1 and programming 2, both the courses, if you have attended, then I think it is possible. But otherwise, realistically speaking, give some time. Don't take it in a rush. So depending on how much level of prep you have done, you can take it. Yeah. Difficult to comment. Can you like take it in 4 days? I don't know how much preparation you have done. If you are like really done preparation, you can take even like, even today. Yeah. From LinkedIn learning, but that was a learning, right? You never took the certification exam as such, right? Right. So I have a question in the question and answer. Those are certificates to complete a particular course, maybe, but it is not like really you have taken the certification exam, which is via SAS and Pearson VUE, right? So we are talking about that exam in this case. So when you have done your SAS knowledge is knowledge, obviously. But when you're talking about global accreditation and all, then this is the certification that we were mentioning today, right? So that is to be noted. What kind of certificate you have done is what we are talking about is certification. Yeah, watch that. I don't know about, but otherwise also please note that we hear a lot about DAMs and all these exam aids, quote unquote, and so on. But believe me, for SAS exam, if you want to clear them, please study, right? You have to study. That is the way to go ahead and crack the certification. And it is pretty straightforward. As long as you know what is the concepts being asked, you are definitely going to get very good marks. Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think, yes, we are closing the session now. Yeah, thanks a lot. And hope to see you around. All the best to all of you. Thank you.